I don't know if you've heard, but we are doing a live show. Yes, TSS World Cup Live on June the 11th at the El Rey Theatre in Los Angeles on the opening night of the World Cup, the night before the USMNT kick off their World Cup campaign against Paraguay. We're absolutely buzzing for it, and I know we are plugging it a lot at the moment, but that's just because we want as many of you as possible to be in that room at the El Rey Theatre. It looks like an incredible venue. It'll be an incredible night. This will be the first live show that we've done in nearly 4 years since the last World Cup. So if ever there was a time to come along and support us and to sample what I think is a pretty special TSS community, now is the time to do that. The atmosphere will be buzzing with it being the opening night of a home World Cup for the USA. We'll have exclusive merchandise. We'll have some special guests. Ryan might even sing the TSS unofficial World Cup anthem, which he's yet to write. Yeah, he better get on that quickly. Joe might do some push-ups on stage. So as I say, it'll be an incredible night. Please visit tssworldcup.com to buy tickets, and we'll see you there.
Welcome to the Total Soccer Show and the glorious return of Take It or Leave It. It's the show where we get your hot soccer takes and we take them or we leave them. It's that simple. On this episode, we're getting your spicy opinions on Real Madrid's trophyless future, Christian Pulisic's imminent national team retirement, and so much more. Oh boy. My name's Ryan Bailey. Joining me today, it's the Taylor Rockwell. Taylor, to quote your favourite band, Stained, it's been a while since we did a Take It or Leave It. How you feeling?
Oh, that's a phenomenal sandbag of an introduction. I'm feeling great, Ryan Bailey. I'm a little bit apprehensive because I think Joe and Graham are going to bring it on this episode, and a few of my answers are like, take, but leave, but take. I'm a little bit murky on a couple. We'll see how it goes.
Believe in yourself, Taylor. We do.
I do. I've after your interview with Coach Beard, I have believe written in Sharpie on my wall. Is that what I was supposed to do? I understood it to be the case.
Also,
cool.
Don't be a goldfish. Try and remember things is a good lesson.
That's impossible.
Okay, very good. Hello, Joe Lowry. How are you?
Yeah, sorry. I thought we were supposed to tattoo believe. So that's what I did. I tattooed it on. Well, we'll leave it. I tattooed it. We'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Have you been watching the movie Memento by Christopher Nolan, perchance?
Yes, and I've seen that movie, and it was really good. You know, I did watch a movie. I went to see a movie last night. I saw Project Hail Mary, finally. Oh. I thought it was fantastic. I cried. It was lovely.
Nice.
Not The Devil Wears Prada 2? No?
No. Although, I'm down.
Was it? Same, I want to go and see it.
Joe, was it akin to when Captain Holt in Brooklyn Nine-Nine is crying watching Moneyball because, like, the statistical analysis is so beautiful to him? Were you just amazed by, like, the calculations?
How did he calculate how to make that run? Yeah, that's exactly what it was, Taylor. I can't even describe it in any different way.
Excellent. Love it. Graham Ruffin, how are you? Wearing a lovely Ghana shirt, which our YouTube followers will be able to see.
I am indeed. I'm collecting them for the World Cup. I'm trying to get as many of my preview teams as I can. This is where the expanded World Cup format is not helping me, but I'm quite far along now. So Ghana was one I didn't have, so I added them to the collection the other day. It's quite wild, isn't it? Like, kind of, Joe, how did you describe it? Like Spider-Man
it looks like it looks like Spider-Man web crossed with the subway map in New York City. Like, that's very much the vibe I'm getting. I'll take the yellow line to the crest. Thank you very much.
Graham doesn't get to answer this question. It's for Ryan and Joe.
Got it.
What is the percentage likelihood, like 100% being it's definitely happening, that Graham is telling his wife and family that he has to buy every single jersey for every single team he's previewing? That's
you guys
like
are forcing me.
the TSS policy, because that feels like a thing that might be occurring.
Yes, it does, but at the same time, do we think Graham's made it this long in his marriage without his wife just knowing that he's going to buy kids recklessly?
Lucy knows.
I think this comes with the territory. Like, I don't think excuses need to be made here for Graham.
You should see her jersey collection. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. She's in ice hockey. She's got the big shoulder pad ones, and she's got a whole room as well. That's the thing.
Wonderful. I do concern myself sometimes that we are enablers of Graham's behaviour here, but
I mean, you totally are. This show is. Like, I would not have bought this shirt if I didn't have to preview Ghana. And New Zealand, I got that one the other day as well. But I'm not complaining.
There you go. World Cup previews on the horizon, by the way. The World Cup less than a month away. You know what else is less than a month away? Us gents heading to Los Angeles, California. We're going to be doing our World Cup coverage from LA for the group stage. And we've got a live show on June 11th. It is called TSS World Cup Live. It is at the El Rey Theatre on Walshore Boulevard? Wilshire? And Hollywood. We're looking forward to it very much. Graham, few seats left, right?
That's right, tssworldcup.com to get tickets. It's been great hearing from people who are coming along. Elena or Alana, excuse me if I've got that incorrect, Alana Buckner got in touch to say they're going to 2 USA games in Los Angeles, which is exciting, and they are coming along with some friends to the live show. And also, this was part of Alana's email. Quote, I was truly disturbed to hear about Joe's packing habits. And was 100% on your side that it is appropriate to capital letters. Bring clothes when travelling. So I may have lost the biscuits battle, but I sense that I may have won the packing war.
Good job, Graham. People's champion. We'll see. We'll see who packs better. We'll find out.
Okay, well, there's some Patreon bonus content for us. The inside of Joe's tiny carry-on case. What does he bring?
I think someone else messaged me, or maybe it was in the Discord, I can't quite remember, to say, is Joe just vacuum packing everything? Like he's going to have to pump everything up when he gets to LA.
I don't. We've done this whole thing before. I still don't understand. I've made no ground in comprehending this issue. We're just going to have to figure it out in person.
There we go. Well, we do know Graham's bringing a minimum of 48 shirts to California. You'll see one of them at least, unless he Joey Tribbiani's it on stage at on Wilshire at the El Rey Theatre. We're very much looking forward to it. TSSWorldCup.com. As Graham said, if you'd like to get a ticket and join us there, it will be fun. Let's get to our takes. This is Take It or Leave It. As advertised, we're going to take or leave the following. This is the first one from Rusty, who left this in our Discord. Real Madrid will go trophyless for a minimum of 2 more seasons, as long as the current setup is in place, where the inmates run the asylum and have direct contact with Florentino Perez. Taylor, I feel inclined to leave this because I haven't looked at the numbers, but have Real Madrid ever gone 3 seasons without winning anything? Feels unlikely. Yeah, there you go. Leave for me.
They've never gone 3 seasons without winning something.
That's correct. I googled this last night.
They had
2 seasons.
Thank you for doing the work I couldn't be bothered to do, Graham.
Yeah, shout out, Graham. Yeah, they've gone 2 seasons. The last time they went 2 seasons was 2005, 2006, before this current stretch that they're in right now. And I believe they had a 17-season run where they won at least a trophy every single year. Yeah, they win lots of stuff, Real Madrid. They win lots of stuff.
Does that include, I'm going to remove Copa del Rey from this. So it's basically La Liga or Champions League. And I'm assuming that roughly still applies. But I'm largely taking this, even with all that said, even with history being against me. And I think a key way to get out of it is that as long as the current setup is in place, and maybe if 1 or 2 players are sold, that does bring some level of balance, or at least it is fewer people going directly to Florentino Perez to complain about everything that's happening. But I think as long as you have as many high-profile names as they do, without a manager who is clearly being backed to control the locker room and have sway and say over the locker room, I don't see why this would change. I don't see how it would change. And honestly, I don't think Jose Mourinho changes it. I know he has a reputation, the reputation. I know he's been there before, but it still feels like the age-old things that people used to criticize Jose Mourinho are going to be even more largely accentuated this time around. I don't really see it working out. So if it doesn't, maybe that's another season without trophies, and then you just need one more to get you to the 2. So I will go ahead and take this one. I look forward to what my co-hosts have to say.
Ooh. Yeah, Graham's making the noise I think I'm making there as well. I think another point I would make, Graham, is that dips in La Liga seem to be short-lived. Like, there wasn't that long ago when we thought Barcelona, they pulled too many levers, they're a disaster, they're going to go down the toilet very soon, and then they just go and win everything very shortly afterwards. So and I feel like we tend to have a lot of hyperbole when dealing with Real and Barcelona.
Yeah, and I was going to leave this one partly because of what you just said there, Ryan. Like, Real Madrid have never gone 3 seasons in a row without winning something. I just think the level of Real Madrid that they're always going to have, like, they're rich and they are attractive. What are you? Have you added biscuits to the cookies to the equation?
Largest
So
Ritz cracker. What is happening?
Sorry. Continue.
Not only does he have the tea now, he's added. What was that, Ryan? You have to enlighten us now.
What do you call that? Like a rich tea biscuit? I'm not
Yeah,
sure
rich tea biscuit. Yeah, like a British biscuit.
We are 1 month away from the butler showing up live on air. Taylor's muted and desperate to get involved in this combo.
Just really kind of wish. I'm guessing Ryan muted himself because a dry cracker on mic is just for audio.
I won't do that again. Unless you want me to.
Add some caramel to it to really make everybody revolted.
Oh, good.
Anyway, back to Real Madrid. I was going to leave it for all the reasons that you said, Ryan, but then Taylor has actually read this question properly, where the second part is key as long as this current setup is in place, and that was a big part of why I was leaving this. Was I think if this madness persists for another 12 months, some context here that we haven't actually spoken about on the show this week is Florentino Perez's crazy press conference given on Monday or Tuesday, where he challenged others to run for election against him, made some very questionable comments in one or two places, and did not come across as someone who was fully in control of the situation currently at Real Madrid.
The tone of that, Graham, it was a wild press conference. It felt like another world leader I can think of in the way he's sort of quite combative in those circumstances. I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, Keir Starmer is known for those sort of press conferences.
It's really troubling that I can't make an obvious joke. Like, I ran through all the leaders that came off the top of my head, and there was no, like, yes, that stoic individual that we all love and respect, who then I could, like, go the opposite being true. Instead, it's just every leader's insane.
It's just true for real. Yeah.
So that's the key context behind Real Madrid right now. And so I think if this madness persists for another 12 months, they will be quite ruthless in selling at least one of the big names. And I've always said that's what the outcome here is going to be. Vinicius would be my bet because of the way his contract talks have stalled. And I think ultimately Real Madrid will have to choose between Vinicius and Mbappe. And when it comes to that, I predict they'll pick Mbappe, despite everything. But if it persists, for another 2 seasons, then I don't really see why anything would change. I think you're absolutely right, Taylor. So actually, I've been convinced. I might now take this one.
So Graham? Sorry, can I real quick ask a question about what do we define as the current setup? Like, Graham, when you're answering that question, what does that include? Is that Perez? Is that Arba? Like, what does that mean?
Perez is president. Their sort of fluid, nondescript front office that they have, where nobody really is in charge. The revolving door of managers, and then the key part is the players that they currently have. Which
so they can't like adjust the squad at all. If they're not going to make any transfers, sure, I'll take this. I was thinking about this in the context of, well, they can make some changes in the squad, but Perez is still going to be good. I mean, this press conference was insane, by the way.
Yeah.
Like a 30-minute monologue, multiple offensive things were said. Like, the dude needs to not be in that role anymore. So that, I think, is very, very clear. But if we can actually make...
Be, right? Like, he's never going to go away.
Yeah. Unless there is some much larger scandal, it seems like that happens.
And
yes,
Joe, just to jump into the current setup is in place where the inmates run the asylum and have direct contact with Perez. I wouldn't say that pertains to transfers. Personally.
So I can make transfers then.
I would say so.
Okay, then I'm leaving this because I think there are obvious areas where the squad does need to improve, and as chaotic as Real Madrid are, they are not stupid in their ability to identify those sorts of areas, right? So I think first and foremost, center back is a known area of need for Real Madrid. I believe we've talked about this on the show before. Rudiger and Alba can't stay fit, and they're both 33. Like it's time for those guys to not be two of your 4 primary center backs. We all know how much Graham loves Raul Asensio. His next, Eric Garcia. There needs to be more talent in that part of the field. Real Madrid surely know that, and they will find a way to sign a center back, if not more than one. I think they need a technician deeper in midfield. Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Jude Bellingham, Fede, like none of those guys are quite in that mold. And I think they need someone to help orchestrate some play from deeper and build up. I think they need someone to help break lines when they are camped out against a low block. And then, obviously, there is the elephant in the room, which is the Vinicius Jr. Mbappe thing, which I think has outsized importance. But I think even if that dynamic doesn't change, and it's Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., we saw that hit some highs in the Champions League. I think if the structure around them gets a little bit better, not from Jose, because that's probably not going to happen, but from the talent that is in this team and it will be added to this team, I think Real Madrid can win I'm thinking about Copa del Rey, the league, and the Champions League, by the way, as sort of the 3 that actually would count here. I think in the next 2 seasons, they will likely get one of those if they make those changes to the squad, and I think they will. So I think they will win a trophy, and I will leave this.
Joe, I'm wondering if you've, in your mind, like mentally addressed the managerial aspect of this. Like, I know you talked about Jose there, but like to your point, like, yeah, they can sign fitter center backs. They've tried to do that a little bit. They could try to sign like more creative or like technically, tactically useful central midfielders. But you still have to have a coach who, like, can get everybody on the same page and make sure everybody's playing the same way and kind of bring in a style or philosophy, in my mind. And that was Xabi Alonso, and a man who is like very respected as a coach, very respected as a player, very respected as a like Real Madrid figure. and yet he is unceremoniously shown the door when the players are not pleased with him. That's what I keep going back to, is like, yeah, you can make those signings. You can add more talent. They did that in the offseason. But it still feels to me like, how do you get everybody to kind of pull in the same direction and not go crying to Getty Perez when the coach says, hey, you're not going to play this game because we're resting you for the next one? Or, hey, we want to try this different formation. It doesn't really put you where you want to be, but we want to try you here. That's the one that I keep kind of tripping up on, is how do you navigate that level of ego and control?
Well, is the answer not Real Madrid navigate it almost every year? Like, I don't know. Maybe the answer is they need a new Modric or a new Kroos to sort of be a little bit of an internal leader who is going to keep a tighter lid on things inside the locker room. But this is Real Madrid, right? This is how Florentino Perez goes about constructing his team, with personalities like this. And they always seem to find a way to manage those things. So I think it's clear that Xabi Alonso wasn't liked because he wanted to actually do some tactical stuff. Okay, fine. Ancelotti and Zidane won Champions Leagues without doing tactical stuff. So this goes against what I believe and how I would go about building a team, for sure. But I don't think we can say that it's like an impossible thing for Real Madrid to do or to solve for, because they really do it all the time.
Yeah. If I'm allowed to change the squad and make transfers, I would leave this one. But what is kind of pushing me or making me, giving me second thought, is Barcelona are really strong at the moment, and it feels like that core of players, yeah, they need a central defender and they need a centre forward, and those are key positions, I accept that, but they still have that core of young-ish players together that it feels like are going to be there for the next 8 seasons. And if this was Barcelona of 3-4 years ago, then I'd think, well, Real Madrid's talent will get them over the line. They'll win a Copa del Rey. They might even win a league. But with Barcelona looking as good as they are, I just feel like Real Madrid, they need something. They need to be more cohesive. Real Madrid, we all know on their day they can beat any team in the world with the talent that they have. That's just the way it is on an individual basis, on an individual level. But I just think to consistently perform against the best teams, the highest caliber opponents, particularly over a league season over 38 games, they need to have more. And I looking at that team right now, I just don't know where that's coming from. I don't think it's coming from the president. I don't think it's coming from the sporting director. I don't think it's coming from Jose Mourinho. And I don't think it's coming from the players. So that's where I think there's an issue.
Yep. Graham, it's funny. As you started to talk, the last thing I wrote down on my notes is, I think the most likely way they turn it around, Real Madrid, is if Barca and Atleti get in their own way. And I think you've kind of landed on the same conclusion, which is basically that as long as those two are kind of functioning at their present level, I think it's hard for Real Madrid to kind of gain a foothold, gain momentum. If the season starts well, which, lest we forget, it did this season, and maybe Barca seem to be imploding, or players are injured, or there's infighting or what have you, I think Real Madrid can be a very confidence-based, vibes are good, winning keeps happening sort of club. But I think that does require others to make mistakes.
All right. Rusty, very interesting take. Thank you very much. We take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about Spurs relegation and how it's helping the health of the Premier League. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to Take It or Leave It, or Tioli, as none of the cool kids are calling it. This one is from JCO54. Spurs being relegated would be tied with Leicester winning the title as the best thing to happen to the long-term health of the Premier League since its creation. Having a Big Six team who attempted to join the Super League be relegated indicates that finances don't control everything and truly shows that anything can happen. Joe, that one got me in the second half, I think, that question, to be honest, because at the start I was like, really? Is that good for the health of the Premier League for a big team to go down? But when you have it in the context of the fact that it's defying the long-held tenet in soccer that finances control everything, then it's interesting.
It is. I had a similar reaction of it got me in the second half, but for a different reason, which is I think initially when I'm reading this take, Spurs and Leicester sort of being mentioned in the same sentence, my initial reaction is to toss it out, because Leicester winning the title is one of the all-time greatest sports stories. It's like in the pantheon. It's ridiculously good. Spurs getting relegated is not that, right? I don't think that has the same appeal from a narrative perspective, but from an impact perspective and from what it shows about the Premier League, I'll take it. I do think that these things are operating in a relatively similar area, because both of them do exactly what JCO54 is talking about. They show that the finances are not controlling everything. Now, the thing I'll quibble with is nobody really believes that finances control everything, right? That's not a thing that people think. we do believe that they play a big role. And that, of course, is true. And they still play a big role in the Premier League. But I will take this and broaden it out and just say how much I appreciate the general rise in competitiveness and, as a result, unpredictability that we're seeing in the Premier League. It has not been maybe a super dramatic rise over the last decade. It's more blips over the initial bit of the decade. And now we're seeing a little bit more of a trend, which is it's not just Spurs being bad or Leicester winning the title. It's Chelsea struggling. It's Manchester United struggling. It's Villa's hot start this year and their ability to hang in the top 5. It's Bournemouth. It's these teams that are showing that the middle of the Premier League is more competitive. And I think that comes as a result of, more money hitting the middle of the league and not just the top big 6 teams. Like, there is so much money now, and all of the good players outside of the absolute elite clubs in the rest of Europe are ending up in the Premier League. That's a bit hyperbolic, but so many of them are joining the league that I think you are seeing more competitiveness as a result. And Tottenham's problems, which are largely brought on by injury, but also organizational instability, bad roster building, bad performances, all those things. If a team, even a team with as much financial clout as Tottenham relative to a lot of the other teams on the planet, if they have that perfect storm of crappiness, yeah, they can be threatened with relegation, not 1, but 2 seasons in a row. So I will take this as someone who enjoys a more competitive, more balanced league that is less predictable. And I think that's what both Leicester and Spurs have showed us.
Joe, clarifying question that I promise is not meant to be like, whoa, but don't you mean this? Because I'm genuinely curious. You're saying you don't think finances control everything, but then simultaneously saying, to my understanding, that there's so much money in the Premier League that basically everybody has like crazy amounts of money to spend. So in that way, don't finances control everything because it's the money that has created the relative parity?
I suppose, but maybe more so of what I was pushing back on that is, like, we've always known that Leicester is a possible story. Like, it's not like these things have ever been an impossibility. Even if you have all the money in the world for your top team and the bottom team is like a scrappy group of upstarts, there's still a world in which that scrappy group of upstarts goes and wins the title. Like, that has always been a possibility. It's not like finances have had a complete iron, unbreakable grip on. That's just not how life works. I suppose that, like, exaggeration is what I was pushing back on. But Taylor, your point's spot on.
Joe, is that not a post-Leicester realisation? Because I would contest, like, before Leicester, it did feel impossible. Like, I never, ever, ever before Leicester thought I would see a team like Leicester City win the league. And so that's partly why I'm absolutely taking this, because I think Leicester City was one of the most powerful things to happen to the Premier League brand. Even if it's not actually true, this idea that the Premier League is more competitive, or for a lot of time it's not been more competitive. City have won 6 of the last 8 titles, and yet we think of the Premier League as this division where there are more potential challengers for the title. It doesn't really ring true when you look at the other big 5 leagues, and I think Leicester played a massive part in that, and to a lesser extent, admittedly, but still to a degree, I think Spurs going down would add to that brand. So I'm definitely taking this, just because when you look at other Big 5 leagues, like there have been big teams that have gone down in other Big 5 leagues, Schalke and Hamburg in the Bundesliga, Malaga in Spain. Often feels like there needs to be some sort of financial tailspin or like external factors for those teams to suffer relegation. Spurs haven't really had that. They generate a huge amount of revenue. They're 9th in the Deloitte Football League table, which I just looked up. They make the 5th most amount of money of any Premier League side. They've got that huge new stadium. They've got a tremendous training facility. They've spent money in the transfer market. I just think there's no way they would go down in another Big 5 league. But as you say, like the Premier League middle class is so strong that the margins are thinner than ever before. And I think Spurs going down just really hammers home that point.
Another clarifying question. Haven't we previously discussed, like, are Spurs a big club, quote unquote?
Oh, this again.
And where do we land, though?
Yes.
I don't know if I'm the guy to ask. I seem to have a lower bar for what's a big club. They're absolutely a big club in my eyes, but I don't know what the consensus is.
Fair enough. I think I'm leaving this one in the end. And I think I'm leaving it because, like, if this makes sense, like, Spurs have never been the villains at any point to me. And there have been many other teams in the Premier League that have been, like, a team you root against. I mean, Manchester United have been that for many, many people. I think Arsenal have been that for at least a few. Like, Abramovich's Chelsea, definitely so. Certain Liverpool sides, Manchester City presently, with the money they can spend and the citations rules they can break. Like, all of those feel like they have kind of more of a, like, villainous backstory, such that if they were to be relegated, it would feel like, see, that's what happens when you overspend and you don't run yourself well, and you like there would be, I think, more of a like example of those teams going down, whereas Spurs at times have felt more so like a team that's trying to compete with those, like almost like they want to be a villain in the same way like maybe Newcastle when they start spending some money, maybe like Blackburn in the 90s. There have been Leeds at a certain point. We've seen time and time again in the Premier League teams like spending in an aspirational way to try to crack into the top 4 or the top 5 or the top 6 or however many it ends up being, and then sort of that blowing up in their face or not being able to keep pace. And we've seen that in other leagues as well. So on some level, to me, it feels like, yeah, it's kind of like another tale. They're the biggest one to maybe do it. I think they end up staying up. But like it still would feel more like, yeah, that's kind of what happens in the Premier League when you try to compete with like the proper villains. You might end up getting kind of churned up and spit out the other end. And I think that's kind of what's happened to Tottenham. Whereas Leicester is truly just a historic moment that did sort of change my understanding of how the Premier League can work.
Yeah, but Taylor, I feel like I can use that argument, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I can use that argument to take this take where Spurs are not going to be missed, and then I think that adds to that. And I don't mean that as an insult. Like, I think if Man City are relegated or Arsenal are relegated, the Premier League is so strong as a whole that I don't think next season any of us, if Spurs go down, are thinking, oh man, this season just isn't up to much because one of the big six, one of the big traditional big six is in this league. And so it just feels like that adds to the idea that everyone's expendable. Even if that's not totally true, like even if the Premier League is, I guess, weaker for not having another big team in it, for having a Southampton over a Spurs in the division next season, just feel like it adds to the perception that nobody is safe and nobody actually changes the brand of the whole, if that makes any sense.
No, I think that tracks for me. And Taylor, to go back to your question about are they a big club, I suppose it depends a little bit on how you want to define it, of course, because that is kind of a meaningless sort of term that we just use. But I went and looked at the latest Deloitte Money League. So Deloitte goes and puts together a bunch of financial figures. They are ninth, in revenue from 2024-25. So it makes you think.
Yeah.
Ninth in the Deloitte Money League. You'll
never sing that.
Put that in a trophy cabinet.
Yeah.
That's like, I do think Spurs are a big club. I think that's where like the villain angle comes in, because I think a lot of times people have asked me like, hey, I'm getting into soccer, I want to kind of follow a Premier League team, who should I support? And broadly my answers for the last like decade have been Tottenham or Liverpool, basically. And Tottenham because like no one's ever going to accuse you of being a glory hunter, but they have like a nice stadium. They're in London. They had Poch. Like that was kind of my answer when they had Poch. They have felt like a team that are like enjoyable to have in the Premier League, including for St. Tottenham's Day and occasionally shooting themselves in the foot and making curious decisions. But then also because they have played like fun attacking soccer at times, less so recently. It wouldn't feel quite like, oh wow, like if Chelsea went down, that would be the most like, oh wow, like anybody can go, even if you spend all the money in the world. If you get it wrong, if you think you're smarter than everybody else in the room, those chickens can definitely come home to roost. With Spurs, it just feels like they tried to spend a lot of money. They didn't spend it particularly well. They had a bunch of injuries. They kept changing their coach. All of that just feels like stuff we've seen before, albeit at a larger level. But we're not talking about a team that have won the Premier League or the Champions League anytime recently, you know? So it's that's where I think it falls down a little bit. If we saw a perennial top 4, top 5 favorite go down, which maybe you could argue Tottenham are at this point, I don't think I would put them there. I think that would be the difference maker for me. It's basically if Chelsea went down.
Okay. Is that
Which,
what you're thinking?
they're tracking for that.
We shall see. JCO54, we appreciate your hot take. Thank you very much. We take one more quick break here. When we come back, we're talking about fouls in the box not being penalties and Christian Pulisic's USMNT retirement. What? Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to Take It or Leave It. We dip into our Discord where MJ has left this hot take. Not all fouls committed in the box should result in penalties. If some fouls in the box were to result in indirect free kicks or a different sort of punishment, I'm open to other options, both players and referees would approach play in the box differently, since not every foul whistled on a defender would result in a free shot at goal. Graham, I'll say technically this is already the case because you can have indirect free kicks inside the box for, was it like back passes and stuff, right? So technically this is true, but I'm taking this because I think a lot of these egregious accidentalish handballs that we see I think the punishment doesn't fit the crime for these, generally speaking. We've seen some of these in the Champions League recently as well. So I would say an indirect free kick would be suitable for that. And also, indirect free kicks in the box are awesome.
Correct.
They are great. So I want to see more of them.
Yeah, pure chaos. Yeah, I'm going to have to hold myself back today answering this question, given what happened last night.
Totally legit officiating?
Yeah, for a handball. It was fair punishment to then give Kelechi Iheanacho a free shot from 12 yards out to potentially decide the title race in Scotland. Yes, I'm taking this one because, and I'm trying to remain rational here because I am simmering today about what happened last night. I am increasingly of the opinion that soccer is a bit broken in this sense. The way that penalties are awarded for the tiniest little thing, handballs that are possibly handballs, possibly not handballs. We seem to spend so much of our time as football fans analysing whether there was like a slight brush of contact or whether a hand was in an unnatural position. And then for the punishment to be a clear shot on goal from 12 yards, it's just so disproportionate. So yes, I think something big needs to change. The best solution for me would be, the quickest fix for me would be to get rid of VAR, but I'm not going to labour that point. Listeners know how I feel about that. By the way, I feel like not just because of last night, I wrote my notes before last night, but I've got in my notes, the tide is turning on VAR. Premier League rejected expanding VAR earlier this week. Last week, the FL rejected it as well. Ryan, I don't know if you saw that story. It would have affected Wimbledon. It's been voted down in Scandinavia as well. Fans hate it, referees hate it, players hate it, managers hate it. I don't really understand who it's for at this point, and we were told it would get better.
Technology companies?
Well, maybe, but has it got better? We were told these things would be refined. If anything, I think it's getting worse. Anyway, that's me done my soapbox. But if I can't get rid of VAR, then yes, some form of rule change, simplification of the rule at the very least, would be appreciated. And I think indirect free kicks, and I accept like the application of indirect free kicks would then become a discussion point. You're never going to get rid of all discussion. But I feel like this would strip back at least something from the debate that has just become so tedious these last few years.
Graham, before I say my thing, could you cite a statistic that's really helpful and informative so that I could then repeat it like 2 minutes afterwards? Could you go ahead and do that?
From a financial powerhouse.
Yeah, maybe like the Deloitte money. I think if we could pull that off every segment, that it could become a really nice
I've got one here.
Okay,
the Deloitte Money League says VAR bad, get rid now. There we go.
Well, that's what I've heard
There
also.
is 0% that a consultancy said that VAR is bad.
Yeah, that's true.
0 chance.
That feels like their wheelhouse.
I'm impressed that Graham managed to turn this into a VAR conversation. So I'm not going to.
I could turn anything into a VAR discussion this morning or this afternoon.
Anything to not get himself in trouble with like British libel and I don't know slander laws, I think is what he's trying to do to avoid going off on a full-on rant about plucky underdogs Celtic and how they finally got a helping hand.
Yeah.
I just think, Graham, you turn that into a handball rule problem and a rules parsing problem, and not what the take is about, which is it's about disproportionate punishment, as I read it anyway.
Yeah, but it's a foul, right? Handballs are still fouls inside the box.
But
I took one part. I took the most egregious part, and the bit that annoys me the most.
Yeah, we know.
And went on that.
My point is, it seems to me that this take is about, well, does the punishment fit the crime? And in general, that could be a handball, it could be a tackle, whatever. The handball rule is a separate problem in my mind. Like, it falls underneath this umbrella, but that's not what this is about. I think this is about if we want true justice, we should take this. And we should say, well, that tackle on the edge of the box, that handball on the edge of the box, that handball even on the edge of the 6-yard box, like that's not going to result in a chance in the next few seconds that is worth 3/4 of a chance on goal, which is what a penalty is worth effectively. So I think if you want justice, you should take this. But also, if you want justice, you have to acknowledge that means fewer goals. And not just because there's going to be fewer penalties. I knew you would be. Not just because there's going to be fewer penalties, but because there's going to be a fundamental change in how defenders defend in the box. Think about this. Like, if I could go and defend 1v1 against Graham, Tekker's Graham, and not have to worry about, okay, if I foul him on the edge of the box, like he's going to get a penalty. That's a huge problem for me as a defender. If I don't have to worry about that, and all I'm conceding is an indirect free kick, which, let's face it, very, very low chances of scoring. Like, sure, you're going to manufacture some sort of shot out of it, but it's going to be a shot where literally every opponent is inside the box, and they have a time to set up this defensive plan. So this would result in fewer goals, not just because there are fewer penalties. Who cares about that? I agree. But because there would be fewer, the defenders would not hold back inside the 18 anymore. They would have license to go and make more challenges in the 18 and be more reckless, which sure, reckless sounds cool, but you know what's actually cooler than being reckless? Having attackers be able to have space to score goals. So I am leaving this, and it's not even a consideration for me. I agree that the punishment does not fit the crime, but the knock-on effect of that injustice against defenders is that we get to watch a much more entertaining game inside the 18. So I'm fine with injustice. I'm leaving this.
Is there such a thing as justice in modern soccer? Like,
Yeah, it doesn't.
Sincerely?
Well, this would make it more just, and that's what I'm saying. It would be bad for all of us.
Okay.
I'm fine with injustice. Joe Lowry.
Quote it.
2026.
Clip it.
Joe, I'm just trying to. There's a half-baked response in my mind here that's maybe not going to come out fully formed. I'm just trying to get my head around like.
They finished ninth, Graham, in the
wish-
DMG.
I wish more than anything Graham had just started like lobbing ad hominem accusations. Just like, it's a half-baked idea, but Joe, what you're saying is dumm and I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Joe,
like
what the heck are you
really
talking
it,
about? No, like I'm trying to get my head around the concept or the argument you're making that defenders would defend differently,
Right?
And whether I care about that, like whether they make a foul. We're talking about the area of the box that they're fouling a player.
Yes.
That doesn't change, right? Whether they are being reckless in that challenge or otherwise. If they make a foul on the edge of the box, there's still a very low chance that an attacking player is going to score from that position of the box. The closer you get to goal, the less reckless they're going to get. Like if it's in the 6-yard box, they're not going to be as reckless. And so I kind of circle back round to, well, I'm not sure I care about that, like because it still fixes that imbalance that we're talking about here.
If the foul, let's say I'm defending 1v1 against Vinicius Jr., we'll make this more realistic, and he's getting closer and closer to goal. If we're in this MJ created scenario that Graham you're backing, like if he's inching closer and closer to my team's goal, why am I not just going to bring him down? Why am I not? Like, why am I going to give him?
I suppose there would be some sort of. We're not talking about all fouls in the box not being, or maybe we are. I wasn't looking at this as all fouls in the box not being penalties. There would still be a bar where it is a penalty. Like if you absolutely clean someone out in the box,
Yeah, sure.
Like that would still be a penalty kick.
That makes it more palatable. But I don't know why we would want as a sport to give more leverage to defenders. Like I don't. That doesn't make sense to me. Why would we not want the game? Why would we want fewer Bayern Munich PSG Champions League semifinals, Inter Barcelona Champions League semifinals? Why are we trying to make life easier for defenders and harder for attackers? Like fundamentally, I just don't agree with that.
Because it's just so difficult to swallow such big outcomes. Deciding title races and it's not just the Celtic thing. Monday's weekend review, like we had this whole discussion, and that was a VAR review, and I know it was actually that wasn't a handball, right? That was a foul on the goalkeeper. So this absolutely would fall into what we're talking about here. That was an instance that I thought ultimately was the correct decision. I know, Taylor, you had a different opinion. I still felt like after watching that, soccer is broken in a sense. So I am absolutely in the headspace and in the mood for something to be done. And I think it needs to be something big. Like it can't just be a tweak. I think we are looking at something. And there have been big changes in soccer throughout the decade. You know, the back pass rule, VR in itself was a massive thing. It does feel like we need a correction of some sort. So that's why I'm taking this.
Taylor, do we have your take on this?
I was going to take it for the very simple reason, Ryan, as you, that an indirect free kick in the box is just super fun, always chaotic, always creates crazy moments. The thing I then run into is that if we're taking this question and the wording therein as like gospel, then it's some fouls in the box result in indirect free kicks. I'm now realizing if Graham can't abolish VAR, aren't we just going to get like 1,000 VAR checks a game? Because like, well,
100%.
actually, he did that, and that was technically a direct free kick, so that
And
should
not,
be.
not
that's
just
why-
VAR, not just VAR discourse. We're going to get also endless media refereeing discourse. Like, do we want to have to talk about more refereeing on the podcast, even if VAR is abolished? Like, oh, this foul happened right on the edge of the special indirect free kick penalty box. Like, oh no, which side was he on? Let's argue about it. Like, this just does.
Is that ever going to change, though? VAR, no VAR.
But as long as there's a line on the pitch, that's always going to be the case.
Right, but why would we add another line? Like, why are we having in this case, I'm imagining we have a box, the penalty box, the 18-yard box, where that we have that first box, and we have maybe a 12-yard box, and then we have a 6-yard box. Like, you got to add another box to create a line to differentiate when the fouls are going to be penalties versus indirect free kicks. So you are adding in, you're admitting that you are okay with adding in another layer of refereeing discourse, and that makes it will always exist. But why would we add more of it? That blows my mind.
What if we had another literal line? What if it was like from 15 yards out, then it's a penalty, but between 15 and 18 yards, indirect free kick?
But only in a full moon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
But was
Ryan
it
Mercury's
before, or
advanced, Ryan.
was it actually
a gentleman of
Guinness? We don't know.
sophistication?
All right. Should we?
And on days, and only in months with 31 days. That's the other rule. Yeah.
That's it. There we go. MJ, another stirring conversation from your take there. Thank you very much. Let's do one more hot take for this episode, and it's a doozy. This one is from Mang the Ram on Elmo's Hellscape. Citing the overwhelming toll on his body, Christian Pulisic will retire from the USMNT after the World Cup. Ooh, boy.
Spicy.
Oh, that is a spicy one. Taylor, is the inference here that Pulisic doesn't enjoy national team duties?
I suppose it is. And I think that's informed by him stepping away last summer so that he could be citing exhaustion and so he could be in better form for this season and then be ready for the World Cup. And now here we are, but then I think he also kind of comes under a lot of scrutiny. He seems to be a player that is discussed quite a bit and is in the spotlight pretty often. And then at the same time, kind of similar to Landon Donovan, which is ironic to say about a guy who's on TV all the time, Pulisic doesn't really seem like he loves the spotlight at the same time. He's never struck me as a guy who wants to be the man. He's always struck me as a guy who feels like he was kind of thrust into the spotlight and told, you will be the man because nobody else can do it. And it feels like that's been the case for him from a very early age, where he goes through the disappointment of not qualifying in 2018 to being a central figure in 2022. And now we would assume being the man, the figure for the U.S. in 2026. I do get where this is coming from, but I think ultimately he still is a guy who loves playing for the United States. He's got the Eagle tattoo. I think he enjoys being an American. I think he enjoys playing for the U.S. national team. So even though I think he gets a lot of criticism, I don't think he retires. But I do understand where this question is coming from, and I do think maybe after the World Cup, he doesn't get called up for a little while and get sort of an extended hiatus, if not quite the leave of absence that Donovan had.
Okay. Joe, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm leaving this. I think Pulisic, like a lot of his teammates, really likes playing for the U.S. I really think that. I don't think that his little time off for the U.S. last summer was anything more than I feel completely broken and run down, and I need to be able to take this time so that I can give more in the future. As frustrating as that whole situation was, I do think looking back that that's what it was. I always think about Yunus Musa's quote after a camp, and this was back in the end of the last cycle sometime, where he said, "It's not as long as I'd like," talking about these camps. It's really nice to bond with guys, and when camp is over, you kind of miss them. I think there are a lot of players that really like each other here. I think Pulisic gets to kind of be one of the boys. Now
they've all grown up together. They've been in camp for such a long time.
Absolutely. And I think Pulisic is in a different category because he is the name people know, right? Even if you could make an argument is he really better than Weston McKennie at this point? I don't know. Hard to say. I think at the most important stuff on the field, yes, he probably is. And that means that he is going to be talked about in this way that is different from the rest of his teammates. But even he's talked about that, right? He gets asked about pressure ahead of the World Cup all the time by folks and our pals in the media. And he talks about how, you guys want me to feel pressure. And I suppose I do feel some pressure. But the quote is, I feel privileged to be in this position. There's pressure, but I feel privileged to be in that position. I genuinely think that's how he feels. So I don't anticipate Pulisic fading away from the national team consciousness anytime soon. I also imagine, surely he's driven to be the USMNT GOAT, right? I don't think anybody really thinks he's that in an undisputed fashion yet. But I think if he gave it another cycle or two, he would be.
I don't disagree with you. I think with everything we know about him, and this might be a me thing, I still don't think I have a good read on who he is.
Yeah, I totally
and
agree.
What he wants. I would assume that's the case, Joe, because that's what you would assume.
Yeah, I am assuming, certainly. Yeah,
most players who play at his level. I think it's a safe assumption, but I think I pause because I'm I don't know. He seems like he doesn't love the spotlight. He seems like he's kind of yeah, I'll play, but then I'm going to go play with my club, and then I'm going to go play. It doesn't seem to be this rallying point the way it has been for others, and that the most important thing for him the way it was for other players. But then I probably would have said it was for Landon Donovan, but he takes sabbaticals and has talked publicly about how sometimes it wasn't. So I don't know. I would assume that's what he wants to be, but then also, how do you become the GOAT? Is it most appearances? Is it most goals? Do you have to lead the U.S. to a semifinal? I don't really know how you do that either.
Yeah, I was thinking goals on that front, and I think it... I don't know if it's achievable, to be honest. I think it probably is. Pulisic's at 31 goals. He's fifth in the leaderboard. Dempsey and Donovan are at 57. It's going to take time for him to get there, but I think it's within reach. And if you do that and have the club career that he's had, even if he stalls out at club level and that's pretty much it for him, I think everybody would have to say that he is that player. Like, I think he clearly is the most talented U.S. player who's ever achieved this sort of stuff. So I'm already on board with this as a perspective, but a little bit longer, I think Pulisic would have everybody on board.
I wonder how much not going to the World Cup in 2018, obviously, is a big thing, but that's really like fundamentally 3 games missed. But not having qualifying for this coming World Cup, it does hurt his numbers, doesn't it? Because I think of like Josie putting in like 8 against Barbados, or like Jesus Ferreira, the Pirate of the Caribbean, like scoring all his goals against lower level CONCACAF opposition.
Yep. It's getting harder.
It does hurt Pulisic scoring numbers, doesn't it?
Very much so. Yeah, fewer.
Weird.
I think you get fewer games against those minnows when you're not coming in for some of the Gold Cups. Like the Nations League even has changed that. I think it's way harder for Pulisic to climb that ladder, which is why I'm not 100% sure that he will, but I think it's possible. And if you stick around long enough and people recognize the club career that you had, which is so clearly head and shoulders above what Donovan and Dempsey were able to do, I recognize that's separate from the USMNT, but I think it is within reach for him. And I am guessing, absolutely, you guys are spot on about that. I just had this sense that how would you not be motivated by that to be the greatest USMNT player ever? I feel like he would have to be, and I think it's possible.
Graham?
Yeah, I think it'd be a pretty massive shock if Pulisic were to retire after this World Cup. Might be a different story after future World Cups. You know, he'll be 31 after the next World Cup. I think his birthday's in September, so he'd be 32 pretty soon after that.
That works.
34 / that's how it works. Yeah, all the best people have birthdays in September as well. He'd be 34, 35 after the Saudi World Cup. So those seem like more feasible, like, opportunities, times for a decision on playing for the national team. I don't think if he does make that decision, it'll be because he doesn't enjoy playing for the US. I think because he's been part of that core group of players for such a long time. I feel like you can tell they enjoy each other's company. It would be a decision made on injuries and preserving himself for the club game, which he's already kind of shown. I know it's the Gold Cup and he would never do it for a World Cup, but he's already kind of shown that priority, that hierarchy in his own mind by skipping the Gold Cup last summer. So maybe in the future, but yeah, it would be unprecedented, not just for the US, but for international soccer as a whole, for a player who is 27. Not just a key figure, but seen as the billboard player for a national team. Paul Scholes retired from England duty at 29. Part of the reason he retired from England duty was he wasn't a key figure, and he kind of felt like he should have been a key figure. So I just think the scenario is completely different for Pulisic, and I don't see it happening.
I think it's more likely he ends up in MLS within 3 years of this World Cup than it is that he retires in the 3 years that follow this World Cup.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So, of all the hot takes we've taken today, it was the final one where we all agreed on it.
Hey, look at that.
We got there.
We reached consensus. Congratulations. Thank you, Mang the Ram, for that hot take. There we go. That was Take It or Leave It. Let's do it again soon. That's what I say. That's my vote. Very good. Taylor Rockwell, thank you very much for your take analysis, as always.
You are welcome, my friend. Thank you for hosting. Thank you to my friends for providing lovely takes and leaves. Joe, I'm now stuck on where Pulisic ends up in MLS and how big of an impact that would be. So that's for me to ponder off air.
There it is.
We'll see how the Continental Classico presented by Allstate in Charlotte, North Carolina goes. Maybe that'll swing things. Who knows?
Maybe.
Joe Lowry, thank you very much.
Hey, Ryan, I'll take you any day.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you very much. Graham Russell, thank you very much.
Thank you. If I say that in my Scottish accent, Ryan, I'll take you any day. That's a threat. That's a threat of violence.
I don't want a Glasgow kiss, as you gentlemen call it, above the border.
That's right.
Yeah.
Graham, you saying that in even vaguely threatening terms, I'm informed Celtic just got another penalty because of the way you said that. The tone was aggressive. Penalty given.
No, nothing surprises me at this point, Taylor.
Should have been an indirect Glasgow kiss, in my opinion. Anyway, listener, thank you very much indeed for joining us on this episode. We'll be back on the feed very shortly indeed. But for now, bye!